Hey, what's up? I am Michelle B, and this video is all about some bad habits to stop doing in 2019 in life in general, and some ways to actually stop doing them. Like they say, you are what you do on a daily or a weekly basis. You are your habits. And if your life is made up of primarily bad habits, that's not creating the life that you want to live. And since it's the start of 2019, this is probably the time when you want to start looking at eradicating the bad habits and introducing the good habits into your life. So in this video, I want to talk about a whole bunch of habits. Some of them are personal habits that I want to stop, and some of them are just general habits that I think that we should all work on stopping. So the first habit to stop is spending like 2 hours on social media every single day. So a lot of us at the end of last year got that iPhone update that tells you how much time you've actually spent on your phone and how much time you've actually spent on social media. And it was like kind of frightening, I think, for a lot of people, myself included. So on average, people spend like 1 to 2 hours every single day browsing social media, which is absolutely wild. I think cutting out social media as a whole is admirable. I've been keeping up with John Green, and he's doing a year of no social media except for YouTube. And that is super inspiring, but to some people it's not as achievable. So for those of us who still want to stay connected, still want to use social media, but just want to use social media in a healthier way, there are a few things that you can do. So firstly, try muting and unfollowing anyone that doesn't resonate with you, anyone that doesn't spark joy, because that way you can curate a feed that actually brings more light to your life as opposed to dragging you down. Secondly, give yourself designated hours to use social media. So something that I've done is I've actually uninstalled Instagram, and I'm trying to stick to social Saturdays, and then maybe a Wednesday that I need to introduce into there as well. So that's when I actually like download Instagram, I like check my DMs, maybe upload a picture, and then uninstall it for the rest of the week. So that's something that you might want to do. You might even want to do that on a daily basis. So just download Instagram at night, check everything, undownload it so that you're all good for the day ahead. I actually have a whole video on how to create a healthier relationship with social media and stop spending so much time mindlessly scrolling through Instagram. So I'll have that linked up here down below. Spending time on social media isn't necessarily like a super unhealthy habit, but I do think that it fragments your attention. It's time that could be better spent doing more fulfilling things. And just a lot of it is really unintentional time. Like, you often don't mean to spend 2 hours on Instagram every day, but it just happens. If you want to live your life in a more intentional, purposeful way, then cutting down on social media, or at least getting intentional about the time that you spend on social media, is a really good habit to get into. Secondly, snoozing your alarm. Especially after the holiday break at the start of the year, it's easy to get into the habit of snoozing your alarm. But when you're artificially wrenched from your sleep using something like an alarm clock, your fight or flight nervous system actually gets activated. There's a huge spike in blood pressure and a shock to your heart rate. Basically, every time you press the snooze button, you're causing something similar to a cardiovascular assault. So I made a video about how to wake up at 5 a.m. and that was quite a long time ago. I'm gonna have that linked up here and down below for some helpful tips on like getting up straight away out of bed in the morning, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. What I would also suggest is having a look at Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. So she made a whole TED talk about it. It's incredibly popular. If you haven't watched it, I'll have it linked down below. She also has a video specifically about how to stop pressing the snooze button. This is the first habit that she sort of went for when she was trying to change her life, and she found that it influenced all of the other areas of her life as well. So I'll link all of those resources down below for you to check out if that's a bad habit that you want to stop this year. The next one is drinking every weekend, especially if you live in Australia, because it's such a thing. So I've talked before about how drinking makes me overly sad, overly anxious for the week after. I just feel hopeless and gross, and it's not a good time. But in saying that, if drinking doesn't do that to you, I imagine it would make life a lot easier to just keep on drinking. But as someone who has reduced my drinking a lot from a few years ago, it still baffles me when people go out drinking every weekend. Not because there's anything wrong with it, because it's so freaking expensive. And also, you lose so much time because of it. Like, if you have one night of drinking, like big drinking, you lose pretty much the next day because you're gonna have a hangover, and they get worse as you get older, and so then you're gonna lose 2 days. So you lose like 52 days in a year if you're drinking every single weekend, or 104 days if you're drinking every single weekend, and you're past just losing 1 day. It's just crazy how much time you could gain back and how much money you can gain back if you don't drink every single weekend. Maybe space it out to like every second weekend, or like once a month. I also don't know that binge drinking every single weekend is that good for your mental health. So if you struggle with mental health issues, this is also a good bad habit to break in general. general. Especially if you're someone who is like ultra sensitive to alcohol like me, it's definitely something to think about. As for ways to reduce your drinking, firstly, if all of your friends are people that drink every single weekend, it's probably a good idea to introduce some different people into your life that aren't big drinkers. People that just have different ideas of like a fun Saturday night or a fun Friday night that don't involve drinking. And then you can plan things in with those people on Fridays and Saturday nights, and hopefully they are the kind of people that wouldn't then suggest like after dinner, oh, let's like go out. You can also set yourself a drink limit if you're the kind of person that can stick to a drink limit. That's kind of hard though. That way you can still go out and still hang out with your friends, but you have that limit in place so that it's still healthy, you're not losing that much time, and you're in control of how much money you spend. Next up is unintentional clothes shopping. If you watch my video on resetting my space for the new year, you'll know that I want to get even more intentional about the clothing that I bring into my life in the new year. The goal is to bring in only clothes that spark joy, in line with The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I also want to shop more in line with my values, so more ethically, purchasing only from stores that rate ethically on Good On You, and stores that are like vintage shops or thrift shops or secondhand stores. If this is something that you want to do, I would recommend going through a process like Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I would also recommend looking into ethical shopping. Sarah Hawkinson has some really good videos on shopping ethically, and so does Kristen Leo. So both of those YouTubers have got me really inspired when it comes to an ethical fashion journey, as well as the documentary The True Cost, which kind of kicked it all off. In general, if you just want to stop unintentional clothing shopping, like that's your first step, then try just unsubscribing from any clothing stores that you get emails from. If the habit is really bad, you can block those websites using an app like Stay Focused so that you're not checking them. Unfollow any clothing stores on Instagram so that you're not constantly getting bombarded with what are essentially advertisements in your feed for new clothes. And have a set time every week where you actually go to the shopping center and make sure that you have a set list so that you're not distracted to go into clothing stores. The next habit to stop is to stop saying sorry quite so much. So this is a bit of a personal one that you might have noticed in my start, continue, stop list that I made for my Reset Your Life challenge. Honestly, especially if you are female, saying sorry can often be incredibly ingrained and normal, and it can be your response to just about everything. When you say sorry for something that wasn't actually your responsibility, like someone else bumped into you, another person wants to use the microwave when you've already rightfully used the microwave, when you want to add to a conversation or correct something, other people will let you take responsibility for that thing when you say sorry, and it will lead to you feeling a little bit bitter on the inside, a little bit resentful, because in reality, you're not that sorry for that thing at all, and it feels bad that other people have let you take responsibility for it. So you might even start to feel a little bit resentful about always saying sorry when you are the person that's always saying sorry. Let me know if you relate to this in the comments down below. Maybe it's just a me thing. So this is a really hard habit to stop, and it's all about being mindful of your words and mindful of what you're saying in conversations. I'll have a link down below to a website with like alternatives to sorry for specific situations, like I'll let you speak as opposed to oh sorry, you speak, or is now a good time as opposed to oh sorry to interrupt. The next habit to stop for 2019 is being permanently busy. Last year I got to a point where I felt like I was on a constant hamster wheel and I was just always busy, which is such a gross feeling, and it's not what I preach. I don't want to be a person that's always busy. I don't see I'm busy as like a trophy to put up to the world. And I genuinely believe that if you are permanently busy, it means that your priorities need to be re-looked over and that you need to start 80-20ing and minimizing and getting rid of things in your life. Not so much like physical things, but like responsibilities and activities and mental clutter. So it was really hard having that belief like so ingrained in me, but then feeling like, oh my God, I'm always busy. So since that point in time, I have managed to free up a lot of my time and get a better schedule in place, and I'm feeling in a much better place now than I did at that point in time, which is crazy because I got way more done in the last month than when I felt like I was permanently busy. So it's just interesting how that works. So Off the Clock is a really good book to get you started when it comes to feeling less busy but getting more done. I would also recommend diving into books like Deep Work, Getting Things Done by David Allen, and Rest as well. I'll have all of those linked down below. Those are really good books to get off the like permanently busy bandwagon. And the last thing is comparison. My partner always states the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy, and it's so real. But it's also just a very normal thing that people do. It's kind of like we're brought up to compare ourselves to everyone else through the way that society is structured, and it naturally follows us wherever we go, wherever we try to thrive in. My first step would definitely be to relook at your social media. So that's unfollowing, muting anyone that makes you feel bitter, resentful, angry, jealous, whatever that feeling of negativity may be. Instagram is a highlight reel. My Instagram is a highlight reel. That person Instagram is a highlight reel. Your Instagram is probably a highlight reel. And that's okay, and it's great that we are all aware of that, or most of us are aware of that. But regardless of how self-aware you are and how much you realize that Instagram is this big old highlight reel, it's still easy on a bad day to sit there scrolling through Instagram and thinking like, how did they do that and how come I can't do that? So kick off your journey to not comparing yourself by doing a big purge on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever social media platform you use that creates those feelings. The next thing that I would recommend doing is to actually start complimenting / making friends with the people that you tend to compare yourselves to. Often we almost objectify people that we compare ourselves to. We're just like, yes, that person has no complex feelings, never feels sad, never experiences pain, and is on a permanent holiday and always looks beautiful. When that of course isn't the case. No matter how much someone looks like they're thriving, they still experience pain, they still experience bad days. Something I found really helpful is honestly making friends and outwardly admiring the person that I'm comparing myself to. If I see someone, I start to get those feelings in my head, like literally comment on their Instagram and just be like, you look like a babe. Or purchase their course that they're selling and use it and take advantage of it. Comment on their YouTube channel and be like, your YouTube channel is amazing, like I love your editing techniques, whatever it is that you tend to compare yourself with. I don't know why, but I just find that complimenting someone or reaching out to someone helps to diminish those feelings of comparison really effectively. If you liked this video and you are looking to create some good habits in 2019, you might like my video on, I think it's 22 habits of successful people. I'll have that linked on the screen and down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate you guys so freaking much, and I will see you soon.